nominations for the Games Awards have already dropped as well in the meantime. And we have seen that Black Me Wukong and Stellar Blade has been between the nominees, also Astrobot. And that was something that many people were saying, well, we'll see if it's even being nominated. Because it's not exactly, let's say, fulfilling the ideas of DEI, and these games are like not putting an emphasis on all of this stuff, and the journalists usually do nominate games that do fulfill these, let's say, DEI requirements. So there was a big question mark, and thankfully, actually, they were, to my surprise, I will be honest, nominated, because I didn't expect it. So it looks like, something's changing. And if you look back at the winners of the Golden Joysticks Awards, gives you a good idea of what might happen with the Game Awards as well. Because usually, like, the awards are a little bit mirroring each other. And if you look, there's Black Myth Wukong here as well. It is actually the Ultimate Game of the Year. It's at the bottom. So it did win the Ultimate Game of the Year. There's Astrobot a couple of times, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth a couple of times. So there is a lot of games, or many games, which many people were even doubting that they would be like nominated, but they were huge successes. And the UK-based awards pay more attention to that. So not really that surprising to me that they are reflected here. What was surprising to me were the nominations for the Game Awards, which actually also did like mirror this and showed these same games almost. So, okay, I was positively surprised, like I said. One thing which was very surprising to me, why it was so surprising to me that some of the games were actually nominated, was this thing. I'm not sure if you can see it, probably not so much, but I will give you a better screenshot. I will try to make it bigger. According to the official website of the Game Awards, and these are the Game Awards that Geoff Keighley is running, so you might have noticed that. The opinion of the fans counts in the selection of the winners, but the value of their vote is much smaller than that of the jury. The jury's decision counts for 90%, and 10% is basically the gamer's vote. And I find it absolutely horrible, to be honest, because if you look at who's in that jury, there's mainly journalists, gaming journalists, and we all know how they are. I mean, we have seen it especially now with Dragon Age the Veilguard. I do not trust a single one of them because they give awesome reviews for Veilguard, which, in my opinion, absolutely flopped. And they gave terrible rating to, for example, Black Myth Wukong. And, they were also screaming that Stellar Blade is completely sexist and whatever. And these people are there, and then you have LA Times. I could have there as well, any other journalists. These are not even gaming journalists. It's the LA Times, right? Variety. What are these people doing here, right? So the problem is their ideas or their views count for 90%. So even if 1 million people will be voting for Black Myth Wukong as the game of the year, it will just only account for 10% of the final vote. So if majority of these people here, a selected few, will say that the game of the year is something completely different, then the players or the gamers' voices will not count at all. So I don't really have a great meaning about the separation of, or the percentage of the journalists and the gamers. So I do not really trust the Game Awards, and I think this was a big discussion point as well a couple of days ago already, before the nominees even dropped. So we do have the nominees as well.
For Best Ongoing Game, the nominees are Destiny 2, Diablo 4, Final Fantasy XIV, Fortnite, and Helldivers 2. Your Best Performance nominees are Brianna White for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Hannah Tell for Life is Strange Double Exposure, Umberly Gonzalez for Star Wars Outlaws, Luke Roberts' Silent Hill 2, and Melina Jurgens' Senua's Saga Hellblade 2. For the best mobile game, the nominees are AFK Journey, Balatro, Pokemon Trading Card Game Pocket, Wuthering Waves, and Zenless Zone Zero. The nominees for best art direction are Astrobot, Black Myth Wukong, Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree, Metaphor ReFantazio, and Neva. For best score and music, this year's nominees are Astrobot, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Metaphor ReFantazio, Silent Hill 2, and Stellar Blade. In the category of Best Audio Design, these games are nominated: Astrobot, Call of Duty Black Ops 6, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Senua's Saga Hellblade 2, and Silent Hill 2. Here are this year's nominees for Best Adaptation: Arcane, Fallout, Knuckles, Like a Dragon Yakuza, and Tomb Raider: The Legend of Lara Croft. For Best Narrative in a Game, the TGA nominees are Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, Metaphor ReFantazio, Senua's Saga Hellblade 2, and Silent Hill 2. Here are this year's nominees: Closer the Distance, Indica, Neva, Life is Strange Double Exposure, Senua's Saga Hellblade 2, and Tales of Kenzera, Zao. The nominees for Best Community Support are Baldur's Gate 3, Final Fantasy XIV, Fortnite, Helldivers 2, and No Man's Sky. In the category of Best Multiplayer, the nominees are Call of Duty Black Ops 6, Helldivers 2, Super Mario Party Jamboree, Tekken 8, and Warhammer 40,000 Space Marine 2. The nominees are Animal Well, Balatro, Lorelei and the Laser Eyes, Neva, and UFO 50. The nominees are Animal Well, Balatro, Manor Lords, Pacific Drive, and The Plucky Squire. For Best VR AR Game, the nominees are Arizona Sunshine Remake, Asgard's Wrath 2, Batman Arkham Shadow, Metal Hellsinger VR, and Metro Awakening. For Content Creator of the Year, the nominees are Queso, Illawan, Techno Gamers, Typical Gamer, and Usada Pecora. But what's the most anticipated upcoming game? Here are the nominees based on currently announced titles: Death Stranding 2, On the Beach, Ghost of Yote, Grand Theft Auto 6, Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, and Monster Hunter Wilds. The Best Action Adventure nominees are Astrobot, Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown, Silent Hill 2, Star Wars Outlaws, and The Legend of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom. For Best Role-Playing, the jury selected Dragon's Dogma 2, Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, and Metaphor ReFantazio. In the category of Best Fighting, the nominees are Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, Grand Blue Fantasy vs. Rising, Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Collection Arcade Classics, Multiversus, and Tekken 8. The nominees for Best Action are Black Myth Wukong, Call of Duty Black Ops 6, Helldivers 2, Stellar Blade, and Warhammer 40,000 Space Marine 2. The nominees for Innovation in Accessibility are Call of Duty Black Ops 6, Diablo 4, Dragon Age: The Veilguard, Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown, and Star Wars Outlaws. Next up, Best Family Game. The nominees are Astrobot, Princess Peach Showtime, Super Mario Party Jamboree, The Legend of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom, and The Plucky Squire. The Best Sim Strategy nominees are Age of Mythology Retold, Frostpunk 2, Kunitsugami, Path of the Goddess, Manor Lords, and Unicorn Overlord. This year, these titles are nominated for Best Sports Racing, F1 24, EA Sports FC 25, NBA 2K25, Top Spin 2K25, and WWE 2K24. Best Esports Game. The nominees are Counter-Strike 2, Dota 2, League of Legends, Mobile Legends Bang Bang, and Valorant. The nominees for Best Esports Athlete are 3-3, Alexi B, Chuvi, Faker, Zaiwu, and Kong Kong. And for the Best Esports Team, our Special Esports Committee nominated these teams: Billy Billy Gaming, League of Legends, Gen G, League of Legends, Navi, Counter-Strike, T1, League of Legends, and Team Liquid, Dota 2. The nominees are Astrobot, Balatro, Black Myth Wukong, Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and Metaphor ReFantazio. The Game of the Year nominees are Astrobot from Team Asobi, Balatro from Local Thunk, Black Myth Wukong by Game Science, Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree by From Software, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth from Square Enix, and Metaphor ReFantazio from Studio Zero.
But what I think is very strange this year, for me at least, is that they have even started to nominate DLCs, like DLCs in some of the categories, instead of making a separate category technically. So there is a DLC nominated for Game of the Year. This is crazy because technically you can have a game that could win Game of the Year in 1 year. In the next year, they would make a DLC. That DLC could again win Game of the Year, technically. And then 2 years or 3 years later, they could make another DLC and technically again be Game of the Year, which is nonsense because that's just one game, right? So I think they should have made a separate category, to be honest, for the DLCs. Game of the Year, and here, to my big surprises, I said Black Myth Wukong is here. And also Astrobot is here. I think that one was very strong during the year. And Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. And also, I think I've also had a mention of the Metaphor ReFantazio by one of my viewers. And someone was saying that the game is actually really good. So this year it's very hard to pick one. I will be honest. I think Black Myth Wukong was one of the most played as well. I think it was really like the game of the year for many people. But Astrobot, I think it's like a very close second together with Final Fantasy. Innovation in accessibility. And yeah, look what we have there. The flop of the year. I can't believe this. I seriously can't believe this. Dragon Age the Vanguard is here, okay? And also Star Wars Outlaws. Good. Let's just say the category is not exactly related to the quality of the game. It's innovation in accessibility. But from what I heard from many other people online, they are all saying that a ton of the other games which came out this year had like better innovations in accessibility than some of the games nominated here. Definitely not Dragon Age the Veilguard. So at least that's what I have read. I don't know. Again, I cannot compare because I did not play the other games, whether it's Call of Duty or Prince of Persia or Star Wars Outlaws. So I'm not sure. I don't know what your opinion is. Yeah, John is saying they nominated a mobile card game. Exactly. So there's kind of like a weird composition of these games. Like, I don't know, some games I don't think should be in one of these categories, or some of these categories, or they should have like a separate category. I don't know. I mean, at this point, I think many people are just happy that the, let's say, more popular games really have been nominated, and we'll see how we end up with the winners, who will be actually the winners then. Tekla, I hope I'm reading the name well. They should have transparent voting too. I don't know why the editors from those outlets don't be ashamed of your vote. Yeah, but and my point is more like, it's just a couple of people. And these games have been bought like by millions of people worldwide. And their vote is only counting 10%. And then a couple of selected few have 90% of the vote. I think that's crazy. That should be the other way around, to be honest, or at least, I don't know, 70-30 or 80-20 or something like that, and in favor of the gamers, not in favor of the journalists, right? So yeah, I really don't think that this is like fair reflection of what the gamers like, to be honest. As for the Game Awards, I am so tired of those clowns. I just watch it for the orchestra performances and game announcement nowadays. Yes, exactly. That's why I was also actually watching it last year, because I was wondering about the new games that they were like showing for the first time. And that's where we actually got to see Exodus for the first time last year on the Game Awards, if you remember. So I am really looking forward if we get maybe a little bit more information on Exodus this year, because I think they said that we will see in December more info. They were like very careful in saying something, but they were like hinting at December from Exodus or from Archetype. So I really hope that during the Game Awards we might be able to see maybe like more vids, maybe some gameplay. I don't know. I would love to see some more gameplay, to be honest. So somebody made like a DEI flop of the year, flop of the year. And Concord is there, of course. Yeah, of course, this is a joke. But yeah, I think all the games are here which we really perceive as flops this year. So they are there. And of course, Dragon Age the Vanguard too. So yeah, it would be nice if this would be actually a category. Yeah, they are all awful. I mean, yeah, every single one, I think, for the most part, for the writing. Although I think Star Wars Outlaws is not so bad in writing as much as it was buggy. At least that was my impression from what I have heard and seen. It was quite buggy. And I think people were complaining that it's like non-stop sneaking. So basically you had just missions where you had to sneak around, and the moment that your cover was blown, you had to start to repeat the entire sequence or the entire mission, which was crap, of course. Yeah, so they have changed it now in the latest patch, which I have seen. That you don't have to sneak anymore. Like when your cover is blown, then you can start shooting basically, but you don't have to repeat the mission, which is great. Finally, over $1 billion were spent on those games altogether. Such embarrassment. That's from Kenya. Exactly. Now that you are mentioning it, that's the worst part. I mean, you have games in front of you which were costly to make. I don't think we have yet the confirmation on the Dragon Age the Vanguard, like how much was it costing, because for just for now we have the estimates, but Concord was for like 400 million or something, or was it Dustborn? I mean, those were huge numbers, and yeah, if you add it all together, yeah, that's a huge loss for the industry, definitely. Aside from the like problematic, let's say, split of the voices, like 10% and 90%, which we have in the Game Awards, the next problem is that Geoff Keighley, who's running the Game Awards, was trying to get the name or the words Game Awards trademarked. And this is something which is not so great, because it's like basically very common. It's like a combination of two very common words, and I was comparing it to a cooking pot or rocking chair. Now imagine somebody would trademark cooking pot, and you would try to explain to somebody how to cook something, and you could not use the words cooking pot because they are trademarked. Like, that's crazy. Come on. I mean, if he would at least like name it in some different way or add something, I don't know, Geoff Keighley's Game Awards or something, then okay, it would make sense. He wants to trademark it, but just the Game Awards, like nobody else would be able to use the combination of these two words then for any awards in the future. I find this crazy. So yeah, I'm not really fond of this idea that what he's now trying to do. And I think many people were writing like, this is crazy. So yeah, you can see my opinion here as well. I did post it. Something that was happening after the nominations were announced for the Game Awards was that basically all of the journalists, which keep in mind have this 90% of voting rights in the Game Awards, were like starting to slander Black Myth Wukong. And you can see like the post here. It's just crazy. So basically, it's not the game was nominated for Game of the Year just to avoid, some big fallout from the gamers. And afterwards, the game journals couldn't really otherwise, and they just had to start slandering the game because they're not happy that it's being even there in the nominees. Yeah, it's very controversial. For me, at this point, the Game Awards are really just very, very controversial, to be honest. Yeah, let me know what you think about the nominations from your side, what you think about this percentage distribution in the voting rights between the jury and the gaming community. What do you think about the inclusion of DLCs into the Game of the Year category? And how about the controversy regarding the trademarking? I would really love to hear your opinion on all these topics. Let me know in the comment section below. Thank you very much for watching. Stay tuned and game on.